It is 8:13 right now. A difficult diagnosis is getting new attention this week through the openness of an actress about her own struggles. Selma Blair has multiple sclerosis. Many are praising her for speaking frankly about the illness. She walked with a cane as she went to the Oscars, and she talked about the difficulty of talking as she appeared in a national television appearance recently as well. It's got a lot of attention. Dr. Jason Grimes is kind enough to join us from IU Health. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
As a neurologist, you know multiple sclerosis well. When you see something like that, somebody being so open, somebody that we recognize, what occurs to you? Is this a teachable moment all of a sudden?
It's a very teachable moment because, you know, the condition itself isn't always so visible. And in fact, most of the people that actually have multiple sclerosis, you would never know. You know, they're the people that are with us every day. And when I see this type of thing, it's good to bring visibility to the condition.
I guess tell us what it is, in essence, because we can't initially see it to understand it.
So multiple sclerosis is a condition that affects the immune system, where the immune system becomes overactive and then attacks the central nervous system. So that's the brain and the spinal cord. And basically, it starts to kind of shred the outer part of the nerve. Our nervous system is just a series of wires from point A, our brain, to point B, our foot, for instance. And it has a covering just like an electrical wire, and that electrical wire covering is called myelin. And so this is a demyelinating condition. And so my poor analogy for MS is it's like having a bunch of frayed lamp cords. You know, you plug the lamp in, the lamp works just fine some days. Some days you have to go mess with the cord, duct tape the cord to get the, you know, the signal working again.
It's a good analogy if people understand it, and that one was a good one. So don't sell yourself short on that.
All right, fair enough.
Is this something Selma Blair and others who have to deal with it will, over the years, it will get worse for her? Is it something that you can arrest the development of?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of treating multiple sclerosis in 2019 is, you know, historically, untreated multiple sclerosis would progress and eventually become very disabling for a lot of folks. But now with our treatments, we can essentially put the pause button on the condition to where we freeze it where it is, and so it doesn't necessarily get worse. Sometimes it does get better, but at minimum we can prevent a lot of progression nowadays.
Well, then that sends off the warning signal of, if there is a warning signal, can we get in and at least get assessed for it to see if this is something that we have or have to worry about?
Exactly. Very common things that happen with multiple sclerosis are visual disturbances, and so blindness of an eye. Camera 1 not working well, camera 2's working fine, and then you realize, oh man, there is something going on in this eye. Double vision. It can be weakness of limbs, balance problems, and these are pretty dramatic. They tend to be stroke-like, but there are some subtle signs. Simple numbness and tingling. Well, everybody gets a little bit of numbness and tingling. Everybody feels a little bit tired or has some fatigue, and so sometimes those warning signs go missed, but the majority of the time they're pretty obvious.
As a patient, as somebody who's going to try to deal with this, Selma Blair has made it very clear it can be very daunting. She's self-medicated, if you will, with alcohol. How important is it to work on the brain as the illness works on the brain, to make sure people understand they can fight through it? Yeah,
that's you know, a lot of the time, you know, dealing with the unknown is the big issue, and then that certainly can weigh in on emotions, which can then cause a whole nother set of issues. And so the big thing is just not to kind of brush it to the side and forget about it. It is, you need to address it sooner than later, and then once you are able to address it, people have great normal lives.
You've talked about how we've gone from a terrible life-changing diagnosis to something that you can put the pause button on. Are we ever at a point where we think we may get this thing cured?
We're getting closer. You know, we're getting closer to understand the mutations, if you will, that happen to the immune system. And so as we get further in unlocking those mutations, we can screen for them earlier to know who's at risk. We can delete those mutations. We can target them with specific therapies. And so we're getting closer and closer. The other thing we're getting closer to is there potentially could be a line of drugs that comes out in the next few years where we start to repair some of the damage that occurs.
Wow. Fascinating. And important to hear some optimism in what must initially feel like a very sort of daunting type of a diagnosis.
Exactly.
Dr. Grimes, thanks for being with us
my
this
pleasure.
morning. How about that, Brenna? Remarkable, good news, if you will, about something that seems so dire.
It's a big responsibility.